Okay, we're going to do problem 9-4. Again, this time we're going to use Excel. This kind of problem where you have lots of input and you're changing things is just ideal for Excel. Well, if you set it up using the information in your book, we can go through and we can put in the face amount, the interest payment, the market interest rate, and the number of interest periods. We need to put in that information, and that information is right out of the textbook. So let's put that in, and then we'll put in the formula that'll give us the present value. Okay? So, first thing we need is the face amount, and we're told that the face amount in here is $50,000, or I'm sorry, $25 million. I was close. Let's zoom this in a little bit so you can see everything. So the face amount is $25 million. And after we're done here, what we're going to do is we're going to translate from people speak to Excel speak. And it's a little different, but not a whole lot different. Then we have to put in the interest payment. Now that's the actual payment times the actual price. And we come up with $75,000. So that's the face rate times the face amount. Next thing we need is the market interest rate. Now this is the rate that it's selling at. And in this particular case, it says, suppose it was 5% and it pays interest twice a year. So that's the same as 2.5% twice a year, which is what this payment does. So we have to put in 2.5%. And then the interest periods used to be 20 years, but because they pay it twice a year, it's really 40 periods, so we put that in. And then the selling price of the bond is the present value of the face amount and the interest payment and the interest rate and the number of periods. At the end, you have to put in either a 0 or a 1. And the 0 or the 1 indicates whether the interest payment comes at the beginning of the year or the end of the year. About 99.5% of the time it will be a 0. It would be very odd to have a bond valuation problem where the interest payment was at the beginning of the year. So we need to put in the information, and we need to put it in that order. Okay? So we need to put it in so that we start with, and let me go through this with you. It's the present value. It starts with a minus sign because this is talking about the cash flows. So you start by laying out cash. So it begins with minus. Then the very next thing in the argument has to be the market interest rate. That's the next thing. Then the next thing it wants is the number of periods, and then it wants to know what those actual payments are, and last but not least, it wants to know when it's all done what's the face amount of the bond. And we talked about the 0 that indicates that the interest payment comes at the end of the year. So if we put that information in that order, and we'll do that, and let me zoom back out a little bit so you can see what we're doing here. So we'll put that information in the selling price of the bonds. We'll put that in as that formula. And there's the formula right up there. A little hard to see. Let's see if I can bring it up a little bit for you so you can see it. There's the present value of B4, B5, B3, and B2, and an ordinary annuity. Now, the beauty of doing it this way is once you set it up, you're done. Because suppose now, and they ask us that what happens if the interest rate goes to 7%, Well, 7% once a year is 3.5% twice a year. So we simply change this to 3.5 and hit enter, and there's our new selling price. And it says, suppose it goes to, I forget what last is, 4%. That would be 2% twice a year. So we put in 2%, hit enter. Suppose the interest rate goes to 40%. That would be 20% twice a year. And we can just keep changing it, and the price will automatically change. So that's the beauty of doing it in Excel. Now, let's talk about this in terms of what Excel calls these things. At the bottom here, I've set this up in what I call Excel speak. And they're in the order that Excel likes. The rate is 2.5%. The NPER, and these are what Excel will ask you to put in, that's the number of payments. And if you remember right, that was 40. And then we have the actual interest payment, which they call the PMT. And then we have the face amount, which they call FV. And then we have to put in either a 0 or a 1 for an ordinary annuity. So it's a 0. And now let's put in the formula. We're going to go to the very top, and we're going to go to, come up here where you can see it. We're going to pick up formulas, and we're going to get financial, and we're going to scroll down until we come to PV. Now, when we do that, we come up with a dialog box, and it asks us to identify the rate, the NPR, the payment, the future value, and the type. So we can do that simply by pointing at that information in our spreadsheet. So let me move this over so we can see them both at the same place. Let me zoom in a little bit, and we'll put these together. We're going to start with rate. So we click this, click rate, hit enter. Our dialog box comes back. The NPER, click, indicate, enter. Payment, click, enter. The future or the face value, click, enter. And the ordinary annuity, we can just type the 0 in there and then hit enter, and we're finished. I have the color wrong, so I need to go change the typeface. And somehow what I did is I already had it in there, so I had it in twice.
Just delete half of it.
So let me just go, and I'll just delete the back piece that I just put in. And when we hit enter, we come up with your number. So that's the issue price of the bonds, step by step, in Excel speak. And once you've set that up, I would save that, and then whenever you have to do a bond problem, just type in the numbers and you're good to go.